It's easy to see why the Thai army and General Prayat constantly go on about happiness, bringing happiness back to Thai people. It is, of course, a reference to King Bhumipon's coronation speech, if you recall, in which he said something like, "I promise to rule for the benefit and the happiness of the Siamese people." Okay, now obviously the army have picked up on that all along during King Bhumipon's reign, and the emphasis on reigning for the benefit of Thai people in a totally unselfish way is a theme, a recurring theme, which comes up again and again. And of course now we've got this happiness lark, which the army is putting a lot of emphasis on. In fact, during King Bhumipon's reign, the army has done nothing but flatter the king and build up his image, beefing him up to be, well, almost like a divine god. A good example of this, if you bear with me, a good example of this is this type of picture. Now have a look at this, if you bear with me for a second. Now here, what you've got is like a royal picture, okay, and you can see it's like Bhumipon. It's the King of Thailand dressed up in his many costumes, okay, all the different facets of his so-called personality. Okay, so let's just have a look at some of these. You've got King Bhumipon, the musician. Again, this is a recurring theme continuously. King Bhumipon is a brilliant saxophone player, but nobody's actually seen him play the saxophone. There's no video or film of him actually playing any tunes. This appears to be Bhumipon the scientist. Bhumipon the photographer. He's supposed to be a brilliant photographer, but I mean, I've never seen any photographs of him taken that have been especially good. Bhumipon the engineer, do you remember all these, the monkey cheek project, and in fact Bhumipon is not an engineer. Bhumipon simply initiates projects that they're done in his name and other people take over. Bhumipon himself has very little technical skills. This appears to be Bhumipon the doctor. Wow, he's a doctor now. Bhumipon the graduate. And of course, when you realise that Bhumipon is a university dropout, he never actually completed his university education. He dropped out of the university in Switzerland, in Lucerne, and returned to Thailand without a degree. Since then, of course, he's been traipsing up and down the planet, asking for free degrees, honorary degrees as he calls them, from universities. And most of the universities have given them to him. Now he's got hundreds of honorary degrees, but he never actually finished his own degree. Bhumipon, the head of the army, in full uniform there, as you can see. Oh, Bhumipon, peak moment. This is how most Thai people have seen Bhumipon, with what appears to be a stolen Khmer royal robe. A golden robe, which he wore at the peak moment celebrations recently. Bhumipon the monk, Bhumipon something or other, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe somebody could inform me, and etc, etc. Bhumipon with a funny hat, Bhumipon. And this is the type of propaganda that Thai people have been force-fed. Well, since they were little, that the king is divine, that the king is a good egg, that the king is a brilliant musician, that he's everything that nobody else is, and that's what Thai people are constantly told. Okay, just bear with me for a second. So, what's the truth? What's the truth about the King of Thailand? Well, when you look at King Bhumipon's track record and his incapacity to make decisions at critical moments in Thai history, you have to really wonder if he is such a genius, if he is such an intellectual, and all the other things that are often accredited to him. I'm referring, of course, to situations of national security when there's a coup, just like there was recently. The King of Thailand seemed to be unable to react. He waited in silence and then eventually endorsed Pride when it became clear that Pride was here to stay. This is a pattern that's repeated over and over again. It's been repeated many times, which rather suggests that King Bhumibol, far from being a great genius or a statesman or a diplomat, is actually quite weak and feeble-minded as an individual. No initiative, no capacity to understand the situation or to think of other people. King Bhumibol appears to be the type of person who is quite easily manipulated by the army. It's been so since the 1940s, since he was crowned and declared king in place of his brother. No doubt about it, King Bhumibol has lived a good life. He's a bon vivant, something of a playboy with a reputation with the girls. Doesn't look like it now, of course, because he's in a wheelchair. But as a young man, he enjoyed life to the full, rubbing shoulders with famous people and acting like a playboy more than the king. And no doubt that King Bhumibol, although he is a puppet of the army, he does enjoy his power. And that's easy to see when you watch him interact with the people around him. He's quite bossy, and he's very strict about people bowing in front of him and kneeling and not having their heads above him. And that's obvious from watching his interaction with other people. The King of Thailand is a chancer. He's an opportunist. It's very clear from how he has managed to survive all these decades, how he has adapted to democracy and dictatorship without flinching. He's quite happy to rub shoulders with elected prime ministers, meddling continuously, disapproving, criticising the growth figures, etc., when it's not his place to do so. And he's also quite happy to rub shoulders with dictators, keeping quiet, not rocking the boat as he is now. He's obviously the type of person who's obviously an opportunist, a political opportunist. We shouldn't forget, of course, that King Bhumibol is the wealthiest king in the world. He's richer than any other king, according to Forbes. He's got a personal fortune of $30 billion. It was $35 billion, but Forbes readjusted the figures. He's certainly not a modest man. He does not understand humility, and he does not understand modesty. All that propaganda about the king squeezing the last drop of toothpaste out of his tube is just that, propaganda. The king has lived a lavish life, and he has enjoyed life to the full in the lap of luxury, and we know that because of his personal fortune. That is undeniable. But when it comes to thinking about other people, like for example the people of Thailand, he is rather selfish, which is what his critics have often said. He is extremely dishonest. King Bhumibol has still not provided a full explanation as to what happened to his brother Ananda. Most observers believe that King Bhumibol is responsible for the death of his brother, albeit an accident, but he is still responsible. His dishonesty goes as far as to remain silent while other people were executed for supposedly being responsible for the death of his brother, when in fact they were perfectly innocent. But King Bhumibol, as usual, remained silent because, well, he thinks that as long as he remains silent, he's not going to be a slave to his words. He's going to be a master of his silence. But the overwhelming evidence is that King Bhumibol killed his brother and assumed the role of king. Article 112, King Bhumibol remains silent while this law is used as a political weapon against his critics, even though the king said the king can be criticized but the king can do no wrong. It's a way of telling people that, yeah, you can speak, but just don't say anything against me because I'm perfect. That is the level of the vanity of the Thai king. And finally, the king seems to be completely unwilling or unable to control his royalist mobs. That is what's destabilizing Thailand. It is the king who is responsible ultimately for the fact that Thailand's democracies fail. Thailand's democratic governments fail because the king remains silent while his supporters destabilize the nation. Those are the facts about King Bhumibol. That is the truth, and that is what most Thai people believe. I think that after the coup in May, Thai people have started opening their eyes about King Bhumibol. I think there was a before and an after, and we are now most definitely entering a new period of time where Thai people are beginning to understand that the king is not going to change his habits. He's going to continue backing hard men and dictators and leaving Thai people without their rights, without their country, without their democracy, because the king only thinks about surviving, keeping his fortune and maintaining his silly Chakri dynasty. And I think Thai people have now started opening their eyes on this subject. It's been a painful process since the 2006 coup, but we're back again to that same situation, and I think this time Thai people are not going to forgive the king. And more people are now contemplating the idea of a Thailand without a royal family, without a Chakri dynasty, and that's the price that Bhumibol has to pay for his dishonesty.